Welcome to Fireside Giants. My name is Alex Wilson. Today, running solo without Anthony, as he did yesterday, covering Kenny Golladay and how he will make the Giants offense more vertical. But today, we have another awesome segment on the line for you guys, a pairing of cornerbacks that could end up being one of the best in the NFL, if not top 5. And they kind of have different styles of play, and I want to talk about their different styles and how they will kind of utilize them in this Giants defense. Now Patrick Graham can get creative and really take this defense to the next level, especially with the addition of some pass rushers and really just bolstering the unit as a whole, especially with the offense hopefully staying on the field for longer and helping that defense out in the time of possession category so they don't have to be on the field all the time as they were in 2020. But that's kind of an interesting topic to speak about as well, because the Giants really didn't do their offense any favors, providing them with very little weapons. Daniel Jones the last 2 years, of course, he's had his issues with awareness, time in the pocket, and the fumblings obviously has been a big problem for him. But when you're looking at these actual weapons that he had to utilize in year one, they really didn't provide him with much. Obviously, Saquon Barkley has been injured for the majority of the past 2 seasons, which has really hurt the offense in their production and efficiency. But when it comes to Daniel Jones, his receivers, they invested a 5th-round pick in Darius Slayton, who, when you're investing a 5th-round pick, you're not expecting to get a tremendous amount of value. He ended up being worth, maybe a wide receiver 2, which could be a round 2 pick at the end of the day. But when you're looking at the wide receiver core, Golden Tate, Sterling Shepard, and Darius Slayton don't necessarily scream efficiency to me. They obviously lacked separation last year, and the Giants now have to take a step forward, and they will, because you have guys like Kenny Golladay, Kadarius Toney, Sterling Shepard's returning, Dante Pettis kind of looked good at the end of the season there. Kyle Rudolph, John Ross, a speedster on the outside. They now have a lot of weapons they can utilize, which will keep the offense on the field and the defense off the field. And that was a major issue last year because the defense was asked to do so much on the field and really pick up a lot of the slack, especially in the fourth quarter when they were trying to close out games. The Giants lost multiple games by less than, 5 points, single-digit points, especially in the middle of the season against Tampa Bay and whatnot. So they lost some of those games by a very slim margin. If they win those games, of course, we're talking about a playoff team, maybe not worthy of being one because the NFC East was so bad. But I'll tell you what, any way you can get to the postseason, you never know what can happen, as we saw in the past with Eli Manning and co. But the secondary for the Giants this year took a major step forward. We looked at last year, and you look at, we started Corey Ballentine in week 1. That lasted very quickly. He played in 100% of snaps in week 1. Week 2, that dropped to 50%. Week 3, it dropped to 0%, and he was cut after that. Quickly after, they moved on to Ryan Lewis, who was an undrafted free agent previously, has experience in Patrick Graham's scheme. Obviously, they moved on from him after he suffered an injury and missed a couple games there. He was responsible for that Michael Gallup long pass that set the Cowboys up for a field goal to win the game early on in the season. So obviously, that CB2 spot last year was a big deficiency, a big vulnerability in our defense. And the Giants looked at this offseason and said, we need to bring in somebody who can hold it down. We need someone with upside potential and that can really complement James Bradberry at CB1. They went out and got their guy. Logan Ryan is like his little brother to Adoree Jackson. Adoree Jackson is a very physical press man coverage. He takes risks. He goes after the ball. He's aggressive, and I love that about his style. It's actually almost the exact opposite of James Bradberry's style. And when you're looking at Bradberry, he's more of a finesse-based guy. He plays a lot of off-ball coverage, not a lot of press. Off-ball man is really what he excels in. He played very sufficient zone coverage last year, too. Very proficient in that category altogether. He was just fantastic per PFF. He had a 79.9 overall coverage grade. He ranks 5th out of the top 10 corners, according to them, in the NFL, just ahead of Stephon Gilmore, which is pretty damn impressive if you ask me. If you're ahead of Stephon Gilmore, you're doing pretty well for yourself. I'll tell you what, though, the guy did not allow that many yards. He allowed 454 yards, but he did play 633 coverage snaps. There was a bevy of games. There was a streak of games where he allowed 15 yards or less, right? 15 yards or less. The most he gave up in one game was week 1 against Pittsburgh with 70 yards and 2 touchdowns. After that, he didn't allow more than 60 yards. He only allowed 60 yards one time, and that was against the Seattle Seahawks. And I think DK Metcalf had like one pass for 50 yards, and it really just blew that number out of proportion. And we know how well the defense played in that contest specifically. He racked up 14 pass breakups. He had a couple interceptions, and the guy was absolutely stellar. He proved to be arguably probably the best cornerback in the NFC East by a fair margin, and one of the best guys in the NFL. And he has a tremendous trail technique. He sticks on that outside hip, and it allows him to work over top of the wide receiver, but also caught underneath. He has very sufficient makeup speed, but it's just his fundamentals that are so sound, and he's just so good at keeping with receivers on their hip like glue, and really taking them out of the game. He was just tremendous against top receivers in the NFL. Look at Allen Robinson. He completely shut him down. He allowed 14 yards, and he had an interception, and he was a reason for another one. Julian Love had an interception that game, and he was the one that actually tipped it, and then Julian Love picked it off. So he really had an interception assist, and he had an interception. He allowed Allen Robinson 14 yards. That's one of the best receivers in the NFL. So that kind of tells you a lot about it. His interception, by the way, was absolutely sick. I'll post it in the YouTube video, but he's literally back turned to the ball, and he's watching Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson jumps in the air. He literally takes the ball out of his breadbasket and turns it over for the Giants offense. And of course, if the Giants offense could have scored more than 18 points per game, we're talking about a team that could have been very, very good. And I think that's why we should be optimistic moving into 2021, because now you have the offense, given the play calling and protection scheme. If they do hold it down, this team can be adequate. They can be a playoff contending team. The schedule is difficult. It might not rank as one of the best schedules in terms of the strength of it. But I'll tell you what, the NFC East was so bad last year that a lot of people are, that's being incorporated into the mathematics of the strengthening of the schedule. And the Giants, those teams all got better. Washington got better. Philadelphia got better. And of course, the Cowboys got better. So now the Giants have to match that, difference in play style and play proficiency. So now you have these two cornerbacks. James Bradberry, who's a finesse style off-ball man coverage guy. He can lock guys down in coverage. And then you have Adoree Jackson, who is an aggressive press style guy. He fits Patrick Graham's scheme to perfection. When Patrick Graham was with Miami Dolphins in 2019 rather, he played 50% cover one. So that means you have one deep safety, you're manning up across the board, you're playing the run, and you're letting your cornerbacks and defensive backs stop guys in man coverage. That is what the Giants are planning to do in 2021, I believe, because you don't go out, you don't spend 3 years, almost $40 million on a arguably CB1 opposite of your already existing CB1 and Adoree Jackson, James Bradberry, and not play a lot of man coverage, because we know that's where Patrick Graham loves to utilize his schematics, and really it's where he likes to breed his pass rush from. If you have your guys holding it down in man coverage, you can send extra blitzers. Patrick Graham loves to blitz. He loves unique blitzes. He loves quarterback spies. He loves to get creative up front with stunts and different styles of blitzing. And that's why he went out and got Azeez Ojulari in the draft at 50th overall. He's a guy that can complement this secondary tremendously. And when you're looking at James Bradberry, Adoree Jackson manning up in coverage, holding it down as long as they can stay healthy, it allows your pass rush to capitalize, because it forces quarterbacks to go to their second, third reads, which takes time. And the more time he's in the pocket, the more likelihood you're going to get sacked. And you have Azeez Ojulari, who has a couple of already very good pass rush moves. The kid's 20 years old. He's a quality player. He ranked first in the SEC in fumbles with forced fumbles rather, and sacks with 9.5. So he was one of the best pass rushers in the SEC, probably the most competitive division in football and in college football. So that's a really good sign for the Giants. They went out and got a Fadi Odenigbo, who also has experience at outside linebacker back in the day in high school, but really has been playing kind of an interior 5-tech power rusher kind of role. We spoke to Fadi, and he said that he is okay taking that transition to outside linebacker and really leaving a mark on the outside as a ceiling of the edge, but also rushing from the interior. We have 3, 4-eye, 5, and outside linebacker. They can do a variety of things with him in sub packages. So I love that about Fadi and the way that they're going to be able to utilize him moving forward. But then you have Azeez Ojulari, who's a purebred outside linebacker who can really rush the edge and hold it down. If you pair Azeez Ojulari with Dexter Lawrence or Leonard Williams, you have two premium pass rushers there to work off of each other. I cannot wait to see Leonard Williams and Azeez Ojulari side by side taking advantage of underdeveloped offensive lines, which the majority of the NFL has nowadays. That's why offensive tackles are so sought after, and why last year, like 4 of them, one of the top 10 picks. For that reason exactly. So this Giants defense has the potential to be one of the best defenses in the NFL. This is what PFF had to say about James Bradberry and Adoree Jackson. Specifically Bradberry first. Bradberry put up solid performances against a difficult slate of NFC South cornerbacks across the first 4 seasons of his career with the Carolina Panthers, but he took a clear step forward in his first year with the Giants last season. Bradberry was the 4th most valuable cornerback in the league in 2020 per PFF WAR, with career best coverage numbers across the board. The former Samford Bulldog put up one of the better performances of any cornerback in the league against Allen Robinson. allowing just 1 reception on 6 targets with 3 pass breakups and an interception in the Week 2 matchup. Now, he went to Samford. Also, another interesting correlation there. The new offensive assistant, Russ Callaway, set records at Samford for their offensive in the SEC, the offensive performance. So that was a big thing and big reason why, Ed Orgeron claimed Russ Callaway was their secret ingredient at LSU, and I think he's going to end up potentially being our offensive coordinator of the future for the Giants. That guy is an absolute stud. He is a air raid, Air Coryell style guy. He focuses on vertical routes. Kenny Golladay said it best. He loved the vision that Joe Judge and Jason Garrett laid out for him in accordance to the offense taking a step forward and what they're looking to do with their creative scheme next year. Kenny Golladay is going to be pushed downfield. He's going to be a man coverage beater. He's going to be given opportunities in 50-50 jump balls, and I can't wait to see that happen. This is what PFF has to say about Adoree Jackson. Tennessee's loss has turned to the Giants' gain. Jackson missed the majority of the 2020 season with a lingering knee injury, but he profiled as one of the most promising young cornerbacks in the league before the last year, fresh off a career-high 82.5 coverage grade in 2019. Jackson has been one of the stingiest cornerbacks in the league on deep targets since entering the league. Since 2017, he has forced more incompletions on passes 20-plus yards downfield, 18, than he has receptions allowed, 14. Now, why is that important? Well, if the Giants are going to be playing cover 1, focusing on rushing the passer and really hoping the receivers can lock it down in man coverage, they need guys who can play deep. They need guys who have great makeup speed. Adoree Jackson is one of those guys. A lot of teams have solid, downfield speed guys as their number 2 receivers. Thinking about McCole Hardman on Kansas City or Sammy Watkins when he was there. You have a lot of really good downfield threats. Even in the Giants, Darius Slayton, John Ross, those are the wide receiver 2s before, Kadarius Toney and Sterling Shepard. When you have guys who can push the field vertically like that, you need makeup guys. And even they might even just play matchups, the Giants. They might not put Bradberry on a Tyreek Hill, when they play the Chiefs. They might put Adoree Jackson on Tyreek Hill and just ask him to mirror him across the board. He has the makeup speed to actually get after that football and maybe even catch up to Tyreek Hill. Stephon Diggs, the Giants have a couple really big matchups this next year. And even Mike Evans, and when they play Tampa Bay again. You have to have that makeup speed, and I think Adoree Jackson has that makeup speed, and they're going to play the mismatches next year. The Giants can really use Bradberry and that off-ball man guy can hold down quality route runners, and Adoree Jackson can hold down the speed guys. So I think they'll kind of utilize those two in matchup-specific situations. So I love this pairing of cornerbacks. They have vastly different traits and qualities and strengths and weaknesses, but that's why you have them. If you have James Bradberry against Tyreek Hill, he's going to get burned. He's going to get burned. He's not the fastest guy in the field. Adoree Jackson is faster than him. And I think that's where they're going with this. They want to have 2 guys who have opposite skill sets who can really match up against quality players using their strengths and not their weaknesses, if that makes the most sense. So, guys, we took a super big jump in the secondary this year just in terms of getting Adoree Jackson. We also drafted Aaron Robinson to compete with Darnay Holmes in the slot. That was a huge add for me. Or Darius Williams, who we interviewed out of Oklahoma State. Another good downfield guy with good makeup speed. Probably a special teamer to start his career, but that's okay. Let him develop. Let him learn the trickle-down effect from Bradberry and Adoree Jackson, quality players to learn from. But I think this is fantastic. Aaron Robinson, another very aggressive man cover corner. He's going to be competing with Darnay Holmes in the slot, who really played a lot of great zone coverage. He's fearless, Darnay. He has that grinder work ethic, and I think he's going to be a quality player for us too. You can never have too many good players at one position, as Gettleman said. You can never have too many great players at one position. Now, hopefully they can roll that over to the offensive line, which desperately needs more help at guard spots. So, guys, hope you enjoyed this video talking about 2 cornerbacks the Giants could really elevate and really maximize in 2021, and why they spent a ton of money on Adoree Jackson. Some might say that contract might have been, a shot in the dark. That might have been a very optimistic deal for him. But I'll tell you what, when you get a guy like that who can really make plays and has good makeup speed and can match up opposite Bradberry against speedsters, it's good news. This is a very good secondary group the Giants now have, especially with those 3-headed monster safety group we talked about like last week with Xavier McKinney, Logan Ryan, and Jabril Peppers. This defense has elite potential, top 2, top 3 potential. Let's hope that Patrick Graham can get them there and injuries don't play a major part, my friends. So thank you so much for tuning in to Fireside Giants. We have the memberships section rolling out on Thursday. We'll introduce that, get you guys all the information you need so we can get you guys some exclusive level content and really interact with you on a more personal basis. That'll be a lot of fun for us, my friends. But have an awesome week. I know it's Wednesday. If you're listening on Thursday, have a great Thursday. And go Knicks tonight. Hopefully they can get a W. Unlikely, but I got my hopes out for me. And we'll catch you guys on the next video. Make sure to subscribe below on YouTube. Thank you guys so much. See ya later.